of September. I want to show you something first on Buzz before I get into what's due this week. So let me pull up Google Classroom. And if you go to classwork, I have added right up here at the top something called pseudocode. And the pseudocode gives you examples of writing pseudocode because we're getting into that now, right? That pseudocode is where you just write your plan. What's your plan for your program? So when you open this, this will give you lots of examples of how you write something in pseudocode. So let me make that full screen there. Pseudocode. So like to write the assignment of a variable in pseudocode, you just say the variable is named A. So you put A with an arrow and say expression. So that means you're going to assign some expression to a value of A, right? Now, again, pseudocode does not run in Python or Java. It's not an actual computer language. It's something where you can write a plan. They'll do it. Display parentheses expression parentheses. You put a space in there. We know in Python, it's print. And you have to put an expression or you can put a quotes if you want literally to print what you put inside the parentheses. You know, it's different commands for different programs. Pseudocode is not supposed to be something you can actually put in the computer and run. It's just something for a plan. So you'd say, well, I will display the expression. I will input whatever I put in parentheses. I'll put an input here. Math, A plus B, A minus B, times B, divided by B. You know, whatever math I'm needing to do at this part of the program. A mod B. This is a command that checks to see what the remainder is. Like if A was 17 and the mod B was 5. So 17 divided by 5 is 3 with a remainder of 2. So this come back and say 2 would be the value it would give you back. Random AB. That'll choose a random value integer between 1 and 3. If it was random 1, 3, it could be a 1, 2, or 3. It'll choose a random integer between those two numbers, including those numbers. It might choose A or B or any number in between there. Text and block, relational operators, when you're checking two variables, compare them to each other, equals, not equals, greater than or less than. The not condition, if it's not whatever you're checking, it'll come back and evaluates the true if the condition is false. Right? Otherwise, it says this is false because you're checking not if the condition is true. You're checking if it's not true. So if that condition is not true, then this command will come back to true. That's not true. Don't let that confuse you. And condition 1 and condition 2, or you just check and see if one of those things is true. They don't both have to be true. If this is like an if this condition is true, then do these block of statements. That's all you're saying. And of course, the actual commands you would use depends on which language you're writing your program in. This is just the pseudocode. If, then, or else. So if this condition is true, then do these first block of statements. Else, which means if those conditions not true, then I want you to do this second block of statements instead. So check to see the value of A. If A is larger than 10, do this. But if it's smaller than 10, do this. That's just an example of some way you do that. Repeat n times blank number of statements. So if there's something you want the computer to do 4 times, calculate 4 times in a row, repeat 4 times, and then put the calculation of the statements that you want it to do in there, whatever statements you need. Repeat until. So keep doing these block of statements until this condition is true. Once that's true, stop doing these block of statements. A list, that's where you create a list. So in my pseudocode, I say, okay, I'm going to make a variable. It's going to be called A list. And in it, I'm going to give it these values, whatever's value 1, 2, 3, and that'll become the list. This creates an empty list because you just put the brackets with nothing in the brackets. So that's telling the computer, I want A list to be empty. I'm emptying my list. Here's where I'm going to take whatever my B list is, and I'm going to make that my A list. So it'll make a copy of your B list and put it inside your A list. And on the left there, you see some examples exactly what it's talking about. Here's the index I. Like if we say if the I equals 4, it'll look for the fourth thing in your list. It'll go to a list. It'll look through there and look for the fourth thing if your I equals 4. Just depends on what variable you're indexing. This is where you assign that a variable. Go and find that fourth thing out of my list and make that X. Right? And there's where you take X and make it the fourth thing in the list if you want to. Right? If your I equals 4, whatever X is, make that my fourth thing in my list. Here's where you have the A list J. Like take the third thing in J. If J was 3, take the third thing and make that the fourth thing in A list, right? So those are both from the same list. You're saying take whatever position J is and make the same thing in position I. Insert. List I values. See, any values in the list at an index greater than or equal to I are shifted to the right. So it's basically to make a space in your list. Insert in your list, starting with, let's say I equals 6. Starting with the 6th item, move everything to the right one and insert this value. Make the 6th thing on the list, whatever that value is. Append. The length of the list increased by 1, and this puts the value at the end. Instead of inserting it, you're appending it. Say, take the list and add this to the bottom of my list. Here's where you remove something from the list. Item number 7. Remove item number 7, whatever that is. And this will tell you how long your list is. Length of list. So this is, again, all pseudocode. This isn't something you're going to type in Python. It's going to work. This is when you're writing that pseudocode. For each item in the list, do this block of statements. Okay. So just several examples. I won't go through all the rest of them. You can look at these whenever you need to. This is robot directions here, these last ones. When you're writing pseudocode, you want to go back and look at this list if you don't know what you're writing to help write it properly in pseudocode, what your plan is. So, all right, let's look at what's due this week. All we have is due this week in Buzz here, and it is Module 1 exam. It is the test this week. So looking at that, again, I'll go to the grade screen. We should have everything done the first 5 lessons. 1.1 through 1.5 should be done. And this week, all we have is the Module 1 exam. And for that exam, take a look at it real quick. I've already started working on my exam, actually. Just if I want to continue. You have one multiple choice question at the end, and it's to write a set of pseudocode instructions. Mine says to brush your teeth. You may get a different question. Some of it say to brush your teeth, or there's other choices. There's a bank of questions that it chooses from. So it says use at least 5 statements, 5 pseudocode commands on how you would write a program to brush your teeth. You're not writing it in Python. You're writing the pseudocode, the directions, something another person can read, not necessarily that the computer can read at all. So that's what's due this week. Next week, we'll start the 2nd module. So all you got's a test. Do well. I'll see you next time. No class on Wednesday. I'll be at a medical conference in Boston, but I will be back Friday for our A-Day. So see you then.